thing. And it's really no different that, in football when a quarterback throws an interception, you wonder, are they going to now not want to throw passes? They don't want to make that mistake again. But the really good ones, the courageous ones, they fight through that. They don't deal with fear, and they get back on their game plan. And that's exactly what Leanne did today, which was really impressive. So I look at things like that to see their heart, to see what drives them as an athlete, not just in their performance, but how they handle struggle. Because you learn more actually when you fail and how you come back from that.
So,
yeah, that was long-winded, sorry.
No, it was great.
Can you talk a little bit about your role here on the floor? We've noticed, obviously, you're speaking with athletes. That's something kind of new to a team coordinator.
Mostly I pick up trash and try to line the chairs up a little bit. My role.
You're not sitting in the stands. You're not sitting, you are walking around. We saw you talking to Olivia on Friday.
I think mostly just because the competition itself has stress, right? There's natural anxiety in competition, and I don't want to add to that. So our job, clearly the coordinator sits on the athlete selection committee. All the athletes know that. That has enough pressure of its own. I don't have to. I mean, I can't really mask that, but I know all these athletes, well, not all of them, but I know 90% of them from helping them with their coaches through the development camps. So I have a relationship with them and helped them, help their coaches, teach them many of the tricks that they're doing now, at least on bars. And so, I know them. So I think that's probably why I've watched them through the years. So I have a relationship with their coaches for sure. And that's why sometimes I feel like I want to go give them an encouraging word because, I remember this a year ago, something similar happened, that kind of thing. That's all.
How do you view your role as coordinator versus when you worked in the developmental camp? How is it different in your mind?
Oh my gosh, it's way different. Because in the development camp, you don't make any selections. You're not. The development camp is purely education. We're educating the wide number of coaches to help America keep producing better athletes. So there is no selection process. So the biggest challenge for me is watching the athletes, not just how to help them technically, but how to pick which ones we think are going to help the team the most. Because sometimes it isn't always determined from the score, because sometimes an athlete had a great event, they had a miss, but they deserve this. So it's all those little things. So that's probably the biggest challenge is looking at it through a different lens.
How much, most of these girls, like all of them, have known one coordinator, one system as long as they've been here. How much have you had to be able to talk to them about, here's how we see things going forward. Some things will change, but most of what you're used to won't change.
I haven't with them actually. I will, and we have a national team meeting tomorrow morning with the girls that made the team and with their parents. So that will be my first official presentation to them and discussion with them about, we basically have to present the training strategic plan for the year, and I'll do that tomorrow morning.
Have you been able, because you are already in the mid-quad thing, is it too early to talk to them about Tokyo and how you see next year going as well?
Well, every coach here thinks about Tokyo, so it's not too early. Because we're all talking about it. Everybody's thinking about it. It's on everybody's mind, and but it's not good to predetermine because things change. Statistically speaking, if you look at history, the further out you are at a world championship, for example, last year's world championships, statistically, very few of them make the Olympic team in that quad. So each world champion that gets each world championships that gets closer, statistically, there's a larger percentage of that team makes the Olympic team. So even this year isn't critical. You make the team, you won't be on the Olympic team. That's not true. Statistically speaking, that's not true. So they don't have to panic about that. But they do know these world championships, they're important. They're really important. So, we talk about that. And the other thing is, as you can tell, the skills are difficult and they don't take months to learn, they take years to learn. And so You don't want to hold off a really good skill that you need. You really need to be competing it at least a year out so that it's polished when it comes time for the Olympic trials. So we talk about that type of thing.
And with the training camps coming back at EVO, can you talk about why that site was chosen?
I think originally I was not involved in any of that. There's so many things now with safe sport that we have to comply with chaperones, transportation. So you have to have medical. So we have to basically fall in line with the criteria or rules that we have to meet, not just in the gymnastics gym itself, but where do you house them? How do you get them from the housing to the gym? Who's with them? You know, who is the trainers? What's the training room? All that kind of thing. And there weren't a lot of options, really. We did not have a lot of choices. There's a lot of gyms, but not a lot of choices that meet all those criteria. And that one was the best.
Was that seen as somewhat of a neutral spot? Because I know you guys did a training camp at LSU, and there's chatter online that's not fair in terms of all this recruiting that goes around in college gymnastics, that all these girls worked out in LSU's facility, which is really nice,
No, I don't know. Well, I mean, I know that I think that World Champion Center was considered, but when the national team comes to camps, I mean, you can't really run many classes because we need basically half your gym to run the camp, and they have too much of an enrollment to do that, I think. So, but I don't know what the other options were, so I can't really say.
And with them coming back, what are you, they've been gone for a few months and there's a lot of instability. What do you hope with bringing back the national team camps? What do you hope that brings to the team and to the girls?
Well, besides unity, because you can tell here they all, they know each other, they're cheering for each other, that's really good. But just consistency, and that's the biggest part, is that they get comfortable with where they're going, what's the equipment like, what's the environment like, how you're getting from the airport to the site, all that stuff really matters. So really about being consistent.
I know you've answered this question many times before, but can you just talk about Simone? I mean, that's a pretty general question, but what has it meant for her to come back to the athletes, to the organization, and what are your thoughts on her going forward?
Well, I want to say something. I gotta let me think about this in my head before I say it. Let's just say this. Man, do not misquote me on this. She's 21. And if any athlete could rest on her laurels, she could, and she doesn't. She literally is out working some of the younger kids in training, and it's inspiring. It's really inspiring. So I think that is going to lift the team more than even we imagined, because everybody can tell she's brilliantly talented, but her work ethic is also amazing. So it's going to she'll raise the bar on everybody, which is exciting.
We had talked the other day about going to 4 in the Olympics as opposed to 5, and how it would increase the importance of being an all-arounder. How will it change the nature of the specialist? Is the specialist going to have to be doing more than one event in order to be valuable?
It would be helpful, yes. Yeah. It would be a very big risk to any country to bring in a specialist on one event. I doubt anybody's going to do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you see anyone in this group, for example, Jade, in 2 events that may be considered similar? Is it more likely you would do that you could get a floorball specialist?
I believe that Jade wants to try to do that, for sure. But it's neat to see that she's training in the all-around, and I see her getting a little bit better. And I think her hopes are not just to be known as a specialist. I think she wants to be an all-arounder. And I'm hopeful. I think she's going to pull that off.
Do you see any natural combination of 2 events? Well, let's see, obviously, vault and floor, that someone could do? For example, is there any similarity between, let's say, beam and bars?
No.
No. Relative to what you would see vault and floor, where you have power speed kind of thing, if you will.
Yeah, and the risk is when you go to competitions like the World Championships or the Olympic Games, the competitions are long, and it's many, many days because you're sharing the podium with the men. There's more teams, so the women get on for a day. You got to wait a couple days before you get back on. So it just takes forever, and there's no more soft landings for the athletes. And so the leg events become really important. So in girls gymnastics, the legs are 3 events, every event but bars. So if you got weak legs, that's a problem. That's a problem. So legs are important because it's pounding and it's a lot of jumping. So we tend to look more toward the vault floor athletes in that regard because they typically are stronger in their legs, and legs are important.
We've seen shifts from quad to quad as to the stronger, weaker events. Some years they've needed vault specialists, some years bars. Do you have any sense now as to what that's going to be more likely for Tokyo, where you might be looking for specialists?
No. I mean, literally the way the rules are, we're not looking for specialists.
No.
Can you talk a little bit about the new Olympic procedure in terms of, because there are 2 specialist spots that
do
are
you
out.
have a couple days?
I do.
Wow.
In terms of like how, because the U.S. has so many great gymnasts, they could definitely qualify 2 additional gymnasts who would be outside the teams. Like
Well,
how?
we better.
What?
We better.
Can you talk? Oh, sorry, I just stepped on someone's toe. Can you talk a little bit about like how that's going, how that process of sorting out who those 2 specialists could possibly be?
Well, they're determined by the rules from
So-
FIG, not by us.
So are they nominative or non-nominative?
Some are. So it is kind of neat in the sense that in Tokyo we could have 6 competing athletes in the Olympics, and we've never had that before because the alternate typically doesn't compete. So yes, there's only 4 girls will make the team, but you can take what we call +2. So you have these +2 athletes that could be used. Let's just say, for example, one of the athletes got injured on the team. Depending on what time frame it is within the Olympic Games itself, you could take one of the +2 and they could be your alternate. They could sub in. You could do that with them.
So you wouldn't take an alternate to the 4-person team?
You can't.
You can't anymore.
Can't. They don't let you.
Okay.
They don't let. So that's why you've got to have those +2, because if one of those athletes get injured, you just move one of those over.
And so you have to think about how they work in the general team
This
competition.
is why the all-around is so important. And we're only going to accept 1 nominative position, because again, if an athlete earned the spot by her name and she gets injured, there is no replacement.
Yeah.
We lose the spot. And it's not like, hey, we'll pick our next best kid. That doesn't happen. So, was that clear?
Kind of, as clear as things can be with these new rules.
The process is 2 years though. So, and I don't know why they did it. So for example, the all-around individual, the individual all-around World Cups like our American Cup, it doesn't count in 2019. I don't know.
So it only counts as 2020?
Yeah, only in 2020.
Oh, I have a headache.
Yeah. But the individual events do. But if you're on the world team in 2018, you can't be one of the individuals. Now, where's the logic in that? So let me rephrase that. You want to be a specialist. You do not want to make this world team, because if you do, you cannot go for one of the world spots, which is 2 years away. I have no idea why they created that rule. No one understands it. It doesn't hurt us. It hurts everybody. So sometimes we complain, oh, the rules are to, make it. This hurt everybody. Every small country, everybody got hurt by that. And we don't know why they did it.